My husband spent 3 nights sharing a hotel room with another woman from his golf club and didn't tell me until I asked on FaceTime. Then I found out they had been texting every single day for over a year and he was telling her about our marriage problems while making me feel crazy for being suspicious. My 34F husband Noel, 40M, is really into golf. He's been playing since he was a teenager and joined a club about 6 years ago. He practices at least twice a week and enters tournaments whenever he can. Last month, he qualified for a regional championship in Phoenix. The tournament was scheduled for 4 days in early August. I didn't go with him because the girls were in summer camp during that week and I had a big project deadline at work. Also, Phoenix in August sounded like actual hell to me. Noel's brother Sean usually goes with him to these golf things. They're close and Sean golfs too, though not as seriously. But Sean's wife was having surgery that week, so he had to cancel. Noel was going to go alone, which was fine. He's 40 years old and perfectly capable of attending a golf tournament by himself. The first 2 days of the trip went normally. Noel texted me pictures of the course and updates on his scores. He called the girls before bedtime each night. Nothing seemed off. On the third night, I video called him around 9 p.m. after I put the girls to bed. He was in his hotel room, sitting on the bed with his laptop open. We talked about his day and how the tournament was going. He was doing pretty well, had made it past the first elimination round. I asked him if he had the room to himself since Sean had to cancel. I was just making conversation. Noel and Sean always share rooms when they travel together to save money. Noel paused for a second and then said no, actually he was sharing with someone else. I asked who, assuming maybe someone else from his golf club had come along. He told me he was sharing with a woman named Jennifer from the club. I didn't know what to say. I asked him to repeat what he just said because I thought I misheard. He said it again. He was sharing a room with Jennifer. 2 beds, he added quickly. I asked why. He explained that there had been some mix-up with the room bookings and several people from the club had to shuffle around. Jennifer was supposed to room with another woman but that woman brought her husband at the last minute, so Jennifer needed somewhere to stay. Noel said the club president asked if he would mind sharing since his room had 2 beds and Sean had cancelled. I asked when this happened. He said it was arranged the day he arrived, so 3 days ago. 3 days and he hadn't mentioned it once in any of our calls or texts. I asked why he didn't tell me. He said he didn't think about it. He seemed genuinely confused about why I was asking. He said Jennifer is nice and it wasn't a big deal, they barely saw each other except to sleep. She went out with the other club members every night and he usually went to bed early. I didn't want to get into it over video call. The girls were asleep in the next room and I didn't want to start yelling. I told him we would talk when he got home and ended the call. I sat on the couch for about an hour just staring at the TV without really watching it. I kept replaying the conversation in my head. 3 nights. He had spent 3 nights sharing a room with a woman I'd never met and he didn't think to mention it. Noel has never given me any reason not to trust him. His parents divorced when he was young because his dad had an affair, and Noel has always been very vocal about how much that hurt him and his brother. He's told me multiple times that he would never do what his dad did. I believed him. I still wanted to believe him. But this felt wrong. I barely slept that night. I kept checking my phone to see if he would text anything, maybe an explanation or an apology. Nothing. The next morning, I texted him asking who Jennifer was. He called me right away. He sounded annoyed. He said Jennifer is in her mid-30s, married, has kids, and is just a regular member of the golf club. He said I was overreacting and that nothing happened. He reminded me that his dad cheated on his mom and that he would never be like that. I told him it wasn't about trust. It was about the fact that he made a decision to share a room with another woman and didn't tell his wife. I asked how he would feel if the situation were reversed. If I went on a work trip and called him 3 days in to casually mention I was sharing a room with a male colleague. He went quiet for a minute and then said that would be different. I asked how. He couldn't really answer that. He apologized and said he should have told me right away. He said he just wasn't thinking and it honestly didn't occur to him that it would be a problem since nothing inappropriate happened. He promised it would never happen again. I told him we would talk more when he got home. The conversation ended and I went about my day, taking the girls to camp and going to work. But I couldn't focus. My coworkers noticed and asked if everything was okay. I ended up telling 2 of them the whole story during lunch. They both looked at me like I had grown a second head. One of them said her husband would be sleeping in the garage if he pulled something like that. The other one said she would have driven to Phoenix and caused a scene in the hotel lobby. Their reactions made me question if I was being too calm about this. Maybe I should have been angrier. But I know Noel. I know he's not the type to cheat. His whole identity is built around being a good husband and father, around not being like his dad. But then why didn't he tell me? That's what kept bothering me. Why keep it a secret if it was so innocent? Noel came home 2 days later. I had already decided not to bring it up right away because the girls were excited to see him and I didn't want to ruin their time together. We had a normal evening. He told them about the tournament and showed them pictures of the golf course. At one point, he showed me a group photo from the club's dinner on the last night. I asked which one was Jennifer. He pointed her out. She looked normal. Brown hair, probably around my age, smiling in the photo with her arm around another woman. After the girls went to bed, we sat in the living room. I told him I wanted to talk about what happened. He immediately got defensive. He said we had already talked about it and he had already apologized. I told him I still didn't understand why he didn't tell me from the beginning. He said he already explained that. I asked if Jennifer's husband knew she was sharing a room with my husband. Noel said he assumed so. I asked if he actually knew for sure. He admitted he didn't know. I asked him to walk me through exactly how it happened. He sighed and said that on the first day, after check-in, the club president called a meeting in the lobby. He told everyone there had been some booking issues and some people needed to switch rooms. He asked Noel if he would be willing to share his room since Sean had cancelled and there were 2 beds. Noel said yes without really thinking about it. Then the president said Jennifer needed a room and could move in with Noel. Noel said okay. That was it. No further discussion. I asked if he texted or called me after that meeting. He said no, he went to the welcome dinner and then to bed. I asked about the next day. He said he was busy with the tournament. I asked about the day after that. He said the same thing. I asked why, in 3 days, it never once occurred to him to mention this to his wife. He didn't have an answer. He just kept saying it didn't seem important. I told him it made me feel disrespected. That he made a decision that directly involved our marriage without consulting me. He said I was making it a bigger deal than it was. I asked him again how he would feel if I did the same thing. He said he already answered that. I pressed him to actually answer it. He finally admitted he wouldn't like it. But then he said that's different because I work with men every day and he doesn't work with women. I pointed out that made no sense as a defense. We went in circles like this for over an hour. He kept apologizing but also kept insisting it wasn't a big deal. I finally gave up and said I needed to go to bed. We slept in the same bed but didn't say goodnight to each other. The next morning, everything went back to normal on the surface. He made breakfast for the girls, kissed me goodbye before work, sent his usual texts during the day. But something felt off. I couldn't just forget about it. That was 3 weeks ago. We haven't really talked about it since. Noel acts like everything is fine. When I try to bring it up, he shuts down or says we've already discussed it. My friends think I should be more upset. My sister thinks I'm letting him off too easy. But I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I do trust that he didn't cheat on me. But I also can't shake the feeling that something about this whole situation was wrong. The secrecy, even if unintentional. The dismissiveness of my feelings. The refusal to really acknowledge why it bothered me. Last week, Noel mentioned there's another tournament in November in San Diego. He asked if I wanted to come with him this time. I said maybe. He said Sean is definitely going to this one. I didn't ask anything else about the room arrangements. Part of me doesn't want to know. Part of me is afraid of what I might hear. I've been trying to just move forward but it keeps coming back into my head at random times. When I'm making dinner or driving the girls to school. I keep thinking about those 3 nights and wondering what I don't know. Not about cheating. I really don't think he cheated. But about his judgment. About his respect for me. About whether this is the kind of thing that happens once or if this is just the first time I found out about something like this. We have a good marriage otherwise. We don't fight often. We're affectionate with each other. We make time for date nights when we can. The girls are happy and healthy. Everything looks fine from the outside. But I can't stop thinking about this. I can't stop wondering if I'm underreacting or if everyone else is overreacting. I can't stop feeling like something changed and I don't know how to change it back. Update 1: Things got worse. I didn't expect to post an update but I need to get this out somewhere because I feel like I'm losing my mind. About 2 weeks after my original post, Noel's golf club had their monthly meeting and dinner. It's usually on a Thursday night and he goes every month. I've gone with him a few times before, mostly for their bigger events. This was just a regular meeting so I stayed home with the girls. Noel left around 6 and said he'd be home by 10. He didn't come home until almost midnight. When he walked in, I was still awake, sitting in the living room. I asked where he'd been. He said the meeting ran late and then a bunch of them went out for drinks. I asked who. He listed off a few names, all men from the club. I asked if Jennifer was there. He paused and then said yes, she was at the meeting and came for drinks too. I didn't say anything. He went upstairs to change. I stayed on the couch. When he came back down, I asked why he didn't mention Jennifer was there. He said he didn't think it mattered. There were a dozen people at drinks, it wasn't like they were alone. I pointed out that he specifically didn't mention her when I asked who was there. He said I was being paranoid. That word. Paranoid. It hit me wrong. I told him I wasn't being paranoid. I was noticing a pattern of him not mentioning things that involved Jennifer. He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes at me. He said I was turning into one of those wives who doesn't trust her husband. I reminded him this started because he spent 3 nights sharing a room with her and didn't tell me. He said he knew I was going to bring that up again. We had a big fight. He accused me of not being able to let things go. I accused him of being dismissive and secretive. He said I was making Jennifer into something she wasn't. I said I didn't know what Jennifer was or wasn't because he never told me anything about her. He said there was nothing to tell. She's just someone from the golf club. I asked if they text. He said sometimes, about golf stuff. I asked to see his phone. He said no. He actually said no. I asked why not if there was nothing to hide. He said it was the principle of the thing. He wasn't going to be treated like a criminal in his own house. I told him I wasn't treating him like a criminal, I just wanted reassurance. He said my word should be reassurance enough. Then he went to bed. I slept in the guest room that night. The next morning, he acted like nothing happened. Made coffee, got the girls ready for school, kissed me on the cheek before leaving for work. But I was done pretending everything was fine. After I dropped the girls at school, I called Noel's brother Sean. I asked him what he knew about Jennifer. Sean got quiet for a second and then asked what Noel had told me. I explained the whole Phoenix situation. Sean sighed and said he didn't know about any of that. I asked if he knew who Jennifer was. He said he'd met her once or twice at club events. She seemed nice, nothing stood out about her. I asked if Noel had ever mentioned her before. Sean said not really, just in passing like any other club member. I asked if he thought I was overreacting about the room sharing. Sean said honestly, he thought it was weird that Noel didn't tell me beforehand. He said if he were in that situation, he would have called his wife immediately to explain. That made me feel a little less insane. 2 days later was Saturday. Noel had golf practice in the morning. I asked if Jennifer would be there. He said probably, she usually practices on Saturdays. I asked if they practice together. He said sometimes, in a group with other members. I asked if I could come watch. He looked surprised and said it was just practice, pretty boring. I said I didn't mind. He said the girls would probably be bored. I said I'd bring snacks and toys to keep them busy. He couldn't really say no without it being obvious he didn't want me there. We got to the club around 9. Noel went to the driving range and I sat with the girls on a bench nearby. After about 20 minutes, a woman walked up to Noel. Brown hair pulled back in a ponytail, athletic clothes, golf bag over her shoulder. Jennifer. I recognized her from the group photo. She and Noel talked for a few minutes and then started hitting balls at adjacent spots. They looked comfortable together. Like they did this all the time. I watched them for about an hour. They talked between shots, laughed a few times. At one point, she adjusted his stance on a shot and put her hand on his shoulder. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. He didn't pull away or seem uncomfortable. They just continued like it was normal. The girls got restless so I took them to the clubhouse for drinks. When we came back, Noel and Jennifer were sitting at a table with 2 other men from the club, all of them drinking water and talking. Noel saw us and waved us over. He introduced me to the other 2 men but didn't introduce Jennifer. She introduced herself. She shook my hand and said it was nice to finally meet me, she'd heard so much about me. I asked what she'd heard. She laughed and said just that I keep Noel in line. Everyone else laughed too. I didn't. Noel gave me a look like I was being rude. We left shortly after. In the car, Noel asked why I was being cold to everyone. I said I wasn't. He said I clearly was. I asked why he didn't introduce me to Jennifer. He said he didn't think he needed to since she introduced herself. I pointed out he introduced me to the 2 men. He said that was different, they were new members. I asked how long Jennifer had been a member. He said about 2 years. I asked when he started golfing with her regularly. He said he didn't golf with her regularly. I said they seemed pretty comfortable together. He asked what that was supposed to mean. Another fight. This one in front of the girls in the backseat. Morgan, 7F, asked why we were yelling. Noel immediately stopped and said we weren't yelling, we were just talking. We drove home in silence. That afternoon, Noel took the girls to the park so I could have some time alone. I spent that time looking at the golf club's website and social media pages. They post photos from tournaments and events. I found dozens of photos of Noel and Jennifer together. At tournaments, at dinners, at practice sessions. They were always in groups, never alone. But they were always near each other. I found one photo from a tournament last spring, before Phoenix. Noel and Jennifer and 2 other people holding trophies. The caption said they won the club's team scramble. Noel had never mentioned playing in a team event with Jennifer. I scrolled back through my texts with him from that weekend. He texted me that he'd won a tournament. I texted back congratulations and asked who he played with. He said some people from the club. He didn't mention Jennifer specifically. When Noel and the girls came home, I showed him the photo. I asked why he never told me he played in a tournament with Jennifer. He looked at the photo and said he did tell me. He said he played with people from the club. I said he didn't mention her by name. He said he didn't think he needed to list everyone's names. I asked if the other 2 people in the photo were men or women. He said 1 man and 1 woman. I asked if he mentioned the other woman's name. He couldn't remember. I asked him point blank if he had feelings for Jennifer. He looked shocked and said no, absolutely not. He said she was married with kids and just a friend from golf. I asked why he was being so secretive about her then. He said he wasn't being secretive, I was being obsessive. I asked him to text Jennifer right then and tell her that I was uncomfortable with how much time they spent together. He said that would be crazy and would make things weird at the club. I asked why it would make things weird if they were just friends. He didn't answer. I told him I wanted him to stop golfing with Jennifer. He said that was impossible, they're in the same club. I said he could practice at different times and not sign up for team events with her. He said I was being controlling. I said I was setting a boundary. He said I was being insecure. I told him to get out. He asked what? I said get out of the house. Take a walk or go back to the park or go anywhere but here because I couldn't look at him right then. He left. He came back 3 hours later with flowers and takeout from my favorite restaurant. The girls were already in bed. He apologized and said he didn't handle things well. He said he understood why I was uncomfortable and he would make more of an effort to be transparent. I asked if that meant he would stop golfing with Jennifer. He said he would reduce how much time he spent with her. I said that wasn't the same thing. He said it was the best he could do without quitting the club entirely. We ate dinner in silence. After, he cleaned up while I sat at the table. He came back and asked if we were okay. I said I didn't know. He said he loved me and only me. I said I believed him but I didn't like what was happening. He asked what I wanted him to do. I said I wanted him to choose me over golf. He said that wasn't fair. I said none of this was fair. He's been trying since then. He texts me when he's at the club. He comes home right after practice instead of staying to socialize. He hasn't mentioned Jennifer's name once in 3 weeks. But I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop wondering what I don't know. I can't stop feeling like I'm the villain in our marriage for not trusting him when he says nothing is happening. Update 2: I found text messages. I wasn't snooping. I need to say that first because I know how it sounds. But I genuinely wasn't trying to catch him in anything. His phone died while we were out to dinner last night and he asked to use mine to text his brother about plans this weekend. I handed it to him. Later, after we got home, I realized he'd left my phone on the kitchen counter. When I picked it up, it was still open to messages. But not to his brother. To Jennifer. I don't know if he was looking at old messages or if he accidentally opened the wrong conversation. But there it was. Months of texts between Noel and Jennifer. I scrolled up. And up. And up. The messages went back over a year, long before the Phoenix trip. They texted almost every day. About golf at first. Tips on their swings, plans for practice, tournament updates. Normal stuff. But then the messages changed. There were messages about their personal lives. Her complaining about her husband. Him talking about stress at work. Inside jokes I didn't understand. Good morning and good night texts. Nothing explicitly inappropriate. No I love yous or anything physical. But the tone. The frequency. The intimacy of it. This wasn't casual golf club friend texting. This was something else. One message stood out. From about 2 months ago, after the fight where I told him to leave the house. Jennifer asked how he was doing. He said he and I were going through a rough patch. She said she was sorry and that she hoped things got better. He said he didn't know if they would. She said if he ever needed to talk, she was there. He thanked her and said he appreciated having her to talk to. He was talking to her about our marriage. About our problems. Problems that existed because of her. I felt sick. I sat on the couch and just stared at the phone. Noel came downstairs and saw me. He asked what was wrong. I held up the phone. His face went white. He tried to explain. He said they were just friends. The messages were innocent. Nothing physical ever happened. He never cheated. I cut him off. I said I didn't care if nothing physical happened. He had an emotional affair. He was closer to Jennifer than he was to me. He shared things with her that he should have shared with me. He had a whole relationship with her that I knew nothing about. He denied it. He said it wasn't a relationship, it was just texting. I asked if her husband knew they texted every day. He went quiet. I asked again. He said he didn't think so. I asked why not if it was so innocent. He said her husband is jealous and wouldn't understand. I asked if he realized how that sounded. He said I was twisting his words. I asked about Phoenix. I asked if it was really the club president who arranged for them to share a room or if Noel had volunteered. He swore it was the president's idea. I asked if Jennifer knew. He didn't tell me. He said he didn't know. I asked if they talked about it afterward. He admitted they did. She asked if I was mad. He said yes. She said she felt bad about causing problems. He told her it wasn't her fault. But it was her fault. And it was his fault. They both knew what they were doing. Maybe nothing physical happened. Maybe they never kissed or touched beyond that shoulder thing I saw at the golf course. But they had something. Some connection that excluded me. And he lied about it. By omission, by dismissal, by making me feel paranoid for noticing what was right in front of me. I told him to sleep in the guest room. He asked if we could talk more first. I said no. He asked what was going to happen now. I said I didn't know. He started crying and said he was sorry. He never meant for any of this to happen. I told him to go upstairs. He did. I didn't sleep at all. I just sat on the couch with my phone, reading through the messages over and over. Looking for something more explicit. Some proof of physical cheating. But there wasn't any. Just months and months of emotional intimacy with another woman. A woman who knew things about my husband that I didn't know. A woman who he ran to when we were fighting. A woman who was there for him in ways I apparently wasn't. This morning, Noel came downstairs early. The girls were still asleep. He tried to talk to me. I told him I couldn't do this right now. He said we had to talk eventually. I said eventually, but not today. He asked what I wanted him to do. I said I wanted him to tell Jennifer it was over. No more texting. No more golfing together. No more friendship. He said okay. I told him to do it right now, in front of me. He took out his phone and typed a message. He showed it to me before sending. It said he thought it was best if they took some space from their friendship, that things had gotten complicated with me and he needed to focus on his marriage. He asked if that was okay. I said it needed to say they couldn't be friends anymore, not just take space. He edited it and sent it. She replied within a minute asking what happened. He didn't respond. I told him to block her number. He asked if that was really necessary. I stared at him until he did it. He asked what else I needed from him. I said I needed time to think. He said he would do anything to fix this. I said I didn't know if it could be fixed. He started crying again and said he couldn't lose me and the girls. I said he should have thought about that before building a relationship with Jennifer. He said it wasn't a relationship. I told him to stop lying to himself and to me. He left for work an hour later. I kept my phone. I went through more messages. I looked at his call logs. He'd called Jennifer 17 times in the past 2 months. Some calls were just a few minutes. Others were over half an hour. All during work hours or when he said he was at golf practice. I called his brother again. I asked if Noel had mentioned anything about Jennifer to him recently. Sean said no. I told him what I found. Sean said he didn't know it was that serious. He asked if Noel had cheated. I said I didn't think so physically but emotionally yes. Sean said he would talk to Noel. I told him not to yet. I needed to figure out what I was going to do first. Noel came home early from work. He brought more flowers. I didn't touch them. He said he called out sick tomorrow so we could talk through everything. I said I didn't want to talk. He said we had to. I said fine. He asked if I wanted to talk now. I said after the girls went to bed. We sat in the living room tonight. He cried and apologized for hours. He swore nothing physical ever happened with Jennifer. He said he was stupid and selfish and didn't realize how close they'd gotten. He said it started as just friendly texting about golf and evolved into more without him noticing. He said when I started getting suspicious, he panicked and pulled away instead of being honest. He said blocking her number was the right thing to do and he should have done it months ago. I asked if he loved her. He said no. I asked if he was attracted to her. He said not in that way. I asked what way then. He couldn't answer. I asked if he thought about her when he was with me. He said no. I asked if he compared me to her. He said no. I asked if he wished he was married to her instead. He said absolutely not. Everything he said sounded rehearsed. Like he'd been practicing what to say all day. I told him I needed time. He asked how much time. I said I didn't know. He asked if I was going to leave him. I said I didn't know that either. He asked if I wanted him to move out. I said not yet. He asked what I wanted. I said I wanted to go back to 3 months ago before I knew any of this existed. Before I saw those messages. Before I knew my husband had someone else he was closer to than me. He said Jennifer wasn't closer to him than me. I said the messages told a different story. We've been sitting here in silence for the past hour. He's on the other side of the couch. I'm writing this on my laptop. He keeps looking at me like he wants to say something. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any more apologies or explanations or justifications. I just want to know if the man I married 9 years ago still exists or if he's been replaced by someone I don't recognize. Update 3: I asked Noel to move out last week. We told the girls together. Morgan cried. Amora, 5F, didn't really understand. Noel cried too. I didn't. I'd already done all my crying over the past month and a half. I didn't have any tears left. After I found the messages, things got worse before they got better. I made Noel give me access to all his accounts. Email, social media, phone records, everything. I spent 3 days going through everything. Looking for evidence of more lies. More secrets. More Jennifer. I found more texts from before he blocked her number. Messages about me. About how I didn't understand him. About how golf was his escape from family stress. About how nice it was to have someone to talk to who just got it. That hurt more than anything else. The idea that I was the problem. That he needed an escape from me and the girls. That Jennifer was his relief from the burden of his actual family. When I confronted him about those messages, he said they were taken out of context. He said everyone vents about their spouse sometimes. I said not to someone they're having an emotional affair with. He finally admitted it. That's what it was. An emotional affair. He'd been denying it for weeks but something broke in him and he just said it. Yes, it was an emotional affair. Yes, he'd crossed lines he shouldn't have. Yes, he'd betrayed me even though nothing physical happened. Hearing him say it out loud should have given me some satisfaction. But it just made everything feel more real and more awful. We tried for a few weeks after that. He was home every night by 6. He checked in constantly. He showed me his phone without me asking. He quit the golf club entirely. He made dinner and helped with homework and tried to be present in a way he hadn't been in years. But it all felt performative. Like he was auditioning for the role of good husband instead of actually being one. The worst part was I didn't feel anything. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt. I just felt empty. I looked at him and saw a stranger. Someone who looked like my husband and sounded like my husband but wasn't actually the person I thought I married. That person wouldn't have done this. That person wouldn't have built a whole secret relationship with another woman while coming home to me every night and pretending everything was fine. 2 weeks ago, I asked him point blank if he missed Jennifer. He said no immediately. Too quickly. I pressed him. He admitted that he did miss having someone to talk to about golf. I asked if that someone was specifically Jennifer or just anyone. He said anyone. I didn't believe him. I could see it in his face. He missed her. Not just the golf talk. Her specifically. The way she made him feel. The escape she provided. That's when I knew. We could go to counseling. We could work on communication. We could try to rebuild trust. But none of it would matter because part of him would always wish he could go back to having both of us. His wife and his family at home, and Jennifer in his phone, giving him everything I apparently wasn't. He didn't choose the affair. He got caught. If I hadn't seen those messages by accident, he would still be texting her right now. Still talking to her every day. Still sharing parts of himself with her that he kept from me. I told him I wanted a separation. He asked if it was temporary. I said I didn't know. He asked if there was anything he could do to change my mind. I said no. He asked if I'd ever be able to forgive him. I said I already had forgiven him. But forgiveness didn't mean staying married to someone who showed me so clearly that I wasn't enough for them. He moved out last Tuesday. He's staying with Sean and his wife for now. He sees the girls every other evening and will take them every other weekend once we establish a routine. Morgan keeps asking when Dad is coming home. I tell her we're working on some grown-up stuff and Dad living with Uncle Sean for now is what's best. She doesn't buy it. She's 7 but she's smart. She knows something is broken. Noel texted me yesterday asking if we could talk in person. I said no. He asked if I'd made any decisions about divorce. I said not yet. He said he still loves me. I didn't respond. I don't know if I still love him. I don't know if I ever really knew him at all. The man I thought I married wouldn't have done this. So either he changed or I was wrong about who he was from the beginning. Either option makes me feel like an idiot. My sister asked me last night if I regret marrying him. I said no. We have Morgan and Amora and I don't regret them. But if I could go back knowing what I know now, would I still say yes when he proposed? I don't have an answer to that. I used to think our marriage was solid. That we were the couple that would make it. That we communicated well and trusted each other and chose each other every day. Turns out he was choosing someone else too. And I was just too busy being a good wife and mother to notice. I don't know what happens next. Maybe we'll eventually divorce. Maybe we'll somehow find our way back to each other. Right now, I'm just trying to get through each day. Taking care of the girls. Going to work. Existing in a house that feels too big with just the 3 of us. Noel's stuff is still here. His clothes in the closet. His toothbrush in the bathroom. His golf clubs in the garage that he didn't take with him since he quit the club. Little reminders everywhere that he used to live here. That we used to be a family. That I used to trust him completely. I saw Jennifer at the grocery store last week. I wasn't ready for it. She was in the produce section with her cart. She saw me and her face went red. She turned and walked quickly in the other direction. Part of me wanted to follow her. To confront her. To ask her what she thought she was doing, texting my husband every day for over a year. To ask if she felt guilty at all. To ask if it was worth it. But I didn't. I just finished my shopping and left. She's not worth my energy. Neither is he right now. This is my last update. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't know if Noel and I will reconcile or divorce. I don't know how to explain any of this to Morgan when she's old enough to really understand. I don't know how to trust anyone again after this. I just know I'm done feeling like I'm going crazy. Done defending my feelings. Done being told I'm overreacting when my instincts were right all along. If that means my marriage ends, then it ends. At least I'll know I didn't accept less than I deserved. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. I caught my stepdaughter hacking into my client accounts and posting fake messages that cost me everything I worked for years to build. When I pressed charges against her, my wife chose her daughter over me and filed for divorce. My name is Blake and I'm 38 years old. I married Charlotte, 34F, 3 years ago. She has a daughter Lori, 16F, from her previous marriage. When I first met Lori, she was 13 and seemed like a typical teenager. A bit moody sometimes but nothing unusual. Charlotte and I had been dating for about 8 months before I moved in with them. Charlotte works as a nurse at the local hospital. She does 12-hour shifts and often comes home exhausted. I run a small digital marketing business from our home office. I started the company 5 years ago after getting laid off from my corporate job. It took me years to build up a client base, but by the time I married Charlotte, I was making decent money and had about 15 regular clients. The business requires a lot of computer work. I design websites, manage social media accounts, and handle online advertising campaigns for local businesses. Most of my clients are small restaurant owners, fitness trainers, and retail shops. Nothing fancy, but it pays the bills and gives me flexibility to work from home. Lori always seemed interested in what I did. She would sometimes hang around my office door when I was working. I thought it was normal curiosity. She asked me questions about websites and social media. I even showed her some basic stuff about graphic design when she said she was thinking about taking a computer class at school. Charlotte encouraged me to bond with Lori. She said Lori needed a positive male role model since her biological father moved to another state when Lori was 10. I tried to include Lori in activities. We went to movies together, I helped her with homework, and I even taught her how to drive in empty parking lots before she got her permit. Things seemed to be going well for the first 2 years of my marriage. Lori got decent grades, stayed out of trouble, and Charlotte and I rarely argued about parenting decisions. I never tried to replace Lori's father, but I thought we had developed a good relationship. The problem started about 6 months ago. I began noticing small issues with my work. Emails would go missing from my inbox. Files on my computer would be moved to different folders. At first, I thought I was just being careless or maybe my computer was having technical problems. Then clients started complaining. A restaurant owner called to say the social media posts I had scheduled for his business contained spelling errors and inappropriate jokes. I checked my records and found that the posts had been changed after I had prepared them. Another client said I had posted photos of their competitors' food on their Instagram account instead of their own food. I started keeping better track of my work and double-checking everything before it went live. But the problems continued. A fitness trainer's website suddenly displayed random text about weight loss scams instead of the professional content I had written. A retail shop's Facebook page started sharing conspiracy theory articles that I had never posted. Each incident was small enough that I could fix it and apologize to the client. But my reputation was starting to suffer. Clients began asking if I was having personal problems or if I needed help managing my workload. Some started requesting to review everything before it went public. Charlotte noticed I was working longer hours and seemed stressed. I told her about the technical problems I was having but couldn't explain what was causing them. She suggested I might need to upgrade my computer or maybe hire someone to help with the workload. 3 weeks ago, everything exploded. I woke up on a Tuesday morning to find 17 missed calls and dozens of angry text messages from clients. During the night, every single one of my clients' social media accounts had posted the same message. The post contained offensive language, made fun of their customers, and announced that their businesses were closing permanently. I spent the entire day calling clients and trying to undo the damage. Most of the posts had been up for hours before I discovered them. Customers had already seen them and were sharing screenshots. Some clients lost hundreds of followers overnight. Others had angry customers calling their stores demanding explanations. By the end of that week, I had lost 12 of my 15 clients. The 3 remaining clients put me on probation and demanded to approve everything in advance. My monthly income dropped from about $4,000 to less than $800. Charlotte was working double shifts that week and didn't fully understand what had happened until the weekend. When I explained that someone had hacked into all my client accounts simultaneously, she looked confused. She asked how that was even possible and whether I had reported it to the police. I spent hours researching cybersecurity and trying to figure out how someone could have accessed so many different accounts. Each client used different passwords and most had 2-factor authentication enabled. The hacker would have needed access to my computer and my phone to pull off something this coordinated. That's when I started suspecting someone in my house was involved. Charlotte was at work during most of the incidents. But Lori had been home from school with a cold on the day of the big attack. She had access to my office and knew I usually left my computer unlocked when I was just stepping away briefly. I didn't want to accuse Lori without proof. Instead, I started paying closer attention to what happened around my workspace. I installed a small security camera in my office that would record whenever someone entered the room. I told Charlotte it was for insurance purposes in case we ever had a break-in. Last Monday, I reviewed the camera footage from the previous week. What I saw made me sick to my stomach. Lori had been entering my office almost every day when I was out of the house. She would sit at my computer for anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour. In one video, I could see her laughing while typing something on my keyboard. I confronted Lori that evening after Charlotte left for her night shift. I showed her the video footage and asked her to explain what she was doing in my office. At first, she denied everything and claimed she was just curious about my work. But when I pointed out specific timestamps and asked about particular incidents, she broke down. Lori admitted she had been sabotaging my business for months. She said she started small by just moving files around or deleting emails. But when she realized I wasn't catching on, she got bolder. She had been logging into my client accounts and posting inappropriate content. The big attack 3 weeks ago was her most ambitious plan yet. When I asked why she would do something so destructive, Lori's answer shocked me. She said she wanted me to fail so I would have to get a regular job and be out of the house more often. She claimed I was always around and she felt like she couldn't relax in her own home. She wanted things to go back to how they were before I moved in. Lori also said she was tired of Charlotte always asking her to be nice to me and include me in activities. She felt like Charlotte cared more about making me happy than about Lori's comfort. She thought if my business failed, I would be stressed and distracted, and Charlotte would focus more attention on Lori. I asked Lori if she understood that she had destroyed something I had spent years building. She shrugged and said I could always start over or find a different job. She didn't seem to grasp that losing my clients meant losing my reputation in a small business community where word travels fast. Charlotte came home the next morning and found me sitting at the kitchen table with printed copies of all the evidence. I had screenshots of the sabotaged posts, the security camera footage, and Lori's confession written down with timestamps. Charlotte read through everything twice before saying anything. Charlotte's first reaction was to defend Lori. She said Lori was just a teenager who made bad decisions and didn't understand the consequences. She asked if we could handle this as a family matter without involving anyone else. She suggested Lori could help me rebuild my business by doing data entry or other simple tasks. I told Charlotte this wasn't just bad judgment. Lori had systematically destroyed my income over several months. She had cost me thousands of dollars in lost revenue and damaged relationships with clients I had worked with for years. Some of those business owners would never trust me again regardless of the circumstances. Charlotte got defensive and said I was overreacting. She pointed out that Lori was still a minor and teenagers often act out when they're adjusting to new family situations. She said Lori obviously regretted what she had done and we should focus on moving forward rather than punishing her. The conversation escalated quickly. Charlotte accused me of being too harsh and not understanding what it was like to be a teenage girl in a blended family. I pointed out that Lori was old enough to understand right from wrong and her actions were calculated and deliberate, not impulsive mistakes. We argued for 2 hours before Charlotte left to take Lori to school. She said we would discuss it more when everyone had cooled down. But I had already made up my mind about what I needed to do next. I called my lawyer that afternoon and asked about pressing charges against Lori for hacking into my business accounts. The lawyer said it was possible but complicated because Lori was a minor and lived in the same household. He suggested I document everything and consider whether criminal charges were worth the family drama they would cause. I also called my business insurance company to see if I could make a claim for lost income due to sabotage. They said they would investigate but warned me that claims involving family members were often denied or heavily scrutinized. By the time Charlotte came home from work, I had spent the day researching my options and calculating the financial damage. I estimated that Lori's actions had cost me at least $12,000 in immediate lost income, plus the long-term damage to my reputation would likely cost me much more. Charlotte and I had another fight when I told her I was considering legal action against Lori. She said I was being vindictive and trying to ruin Lori's future over something that could be handled within the family. She threatened to take Lori and move out if I pursued criminal charges. I told Charlotte that Lori needed to face real consequences for her actions. Grounding her or taking away her phone wasn't going to undo the damage she had caused or teach her that destroying someone's livelihood was serious. Charlotte said I was putting my business ahead of our family and making Lori choose between her mother and me. The argument ended with Charlotte sleeping in the guest room and Lori avoiding me completely. For the past week, we've been living in the same house but barely speaking to each other. Charlotte goes to work, Lori goes to school, and I spend my days trying to salvage what's left of my business. Yesterday, I got another call from a former client. Word had spread about what happened, and other business owners in town were warning each other to be careful about hiring me. The client wanted to give me a chance to explain my side, but even after I told him the truth about Lori's sabotage, he said he couldn't risk working with me. I'm not sure what to do next. My marriage is falling apart, my business is ruined, and Lori acts like nothing happened. Charlotte keeps saying we need to work this out as a family, but I don't see how we can move past this without Lori taking real responsibility for what she did. The worst part is that I genuinely cared about Lori and thought we had a good relationship. I never imagined she resented me enough to systematically destroy something I had worked so hard to build. I don't know if I can ever trust her again or feel comfortable working from home with her around. Update 1: Things have gotten much worse since my original post. I ended up pressing charges against Lori after all. Charlotte was furious when she found out, but I had reached the point where I couldn't just let this go. The police took the case seriously once they saw all the evidence I had gathered. The detective said what Lori did constituted unauthorized access to computer systems and could be prosecuted as a felony even though she's a minor. They arrested Lori at school 2 weeks ago. Charlotte blamed me for having Lori arrested. She said I had ruined Lori's life and destroyed our family over money. She hired a lawyer for Lori and moved out of our house the same day Lori was released on bail. They're staying with Charlotte's sister across town. The legal process has been complicated because Lori is 16. Her lawyer is arguing that she didn't understand the seriousness of her actions and should be treated as a juvenile who made mistakes rather than a criminal. My lawyer says the systematic nature of the sabotage and the financial damage make it harder for Lori to claim it was just childish behavior. Meanwhile, my business is completely dead. The last 3 clients I had left terminated their contracts after news of Lori's arrest spread around town. People are talking about it on local Facebook groups and at the coffee shops. Some people blame me for pressing charges against my stepdaughter. Others think Lori got what she deserved. I had to get a regular job to pay my bills. I'm working at an electronics store in the mall making $12 an hour. It's humiliating after running my own business for 5 years, but I need the income. The manager knows about my marketing background and sometimes asks me to help with their social media, but mostly I just help customers and stock shelves. Charlotte and I have only talked twice since she moved out. Both conversations were about the legal case. Her lawyer wants me to drop the charges in exchange for Lori doing community service and paying restitution over time. My lawyer advised against it because Lori would still have the technical knowledge to sabotage me again in the future. The house feels empty without Charlotte and Lori. I keep their rooms exactly as they left them, but I don't know why. Charlotte hasn't indicated she wants to work things out, and I'm not sure I would want her back anyway. Every time I think about Lori sitting in my office laughing while she destroyed my clients' accounts, I get angry all over again. Last week, I ran into Charlotte at the grocery store. She looked tired and older than I remembered. She asked how I was doing, and I told her about my new job. She said Lori was seeing a counselor and doing well in school despite everything. She didn't apologize or acknowledge what Lori had done to me. Charlotte did mention that Lori's counselor thought Lori might have been acting out because she felt displaced in her own home. The counselor suggested that Lori felt like I was taking up too much space and attention. Charlotte seemed to think this explanation justified Lori's behavior somehow. I told Charlotte that feeling displaced didn't excuse systematic sabotage that cost me my livelihood. Charlotte said I was still being too harsh and that Lori was just a kid who made bad choices. We ended the conversation there because I could feel myself getting angry again. The preliminary hearing for Lori's case is scheduled for next month. Her lawyer is still pushing for a plea deal that would keep Lori out of juvenile detention. My lawyer says the prosecutor is willing to consider it if Lori admits guilt and agrees to supervised probation with restitution payments. I'm conflicted about the plea deal. Part of me wants Lori to face serious consequences for what she did. But another part of me is tired of the legal drama and wants to move on with my life. The criminal case has been hanging over everything for weeks now. My business insurance claim was denied. They said the sabotage was committed by a family member living in my household, which made it an excluded event under my policy. I'm appealing the decision, but my lawyer says insurance companies rarely pay claims involving domestic disputes. I've been thinking about starting over in a different city where nobody knows about what happened. My reputation here is damaged beyond repair. Even if I could get new clients, there would always be questions about whether I could be trusted or whether my family situation might interfere with my work again. The electronics store job is temporary, but I'm not sure what I want to do long term. Going back to corporate marketing would mean giving up the independence I valued about running my own business. But trying to rebuild my client base here seems impossible given how much the story has spread. Lori's court date keeps getting postponed because her lawyer is negotiating with a prosecutor. Each delay makes it harder for me to move forward with my life. I feel stuck in limbo waiting for the legal system to resolve something that has already destroyed my marriage and my business. Update 2: Lori pled guilty to unauthorized computer access and was sentenced to 2 years of supervised probation. She has to do 200 hours of community service and pay me restitution at $50 per month until she turns 18. After that, the payments stop whether or not the full amount has been paid back. The restitution amount was set at $8,000, which is much less than my actual losses. The judge said that was the maximum they could order for a juvenile case. Lori will end up paying me about $1,200 total before the payments stop on her 18th birthday. Charlotte was in the courtroom when Lori was sentenced. She cried when the judge read the terms of probation. Lori stood there looking bored and annoyed. After the hearing, Charlotte tried to talk to me in the parking lot, but I had nothing left to say to either of them. I quit my job at the electronics store and moved to another state. I found work with a marketing agency in a mid-sized city about 400 miles away from where I used to live. The pay is less than what I made running my own business, but it's more stable than retail work. Charlotte filed for divorce 3 weeks after Lori's sentencing. The paperwork cited irreconcilable differences. Since we had only been married for 3 years and didn't have children together, the divorce was straightforward. We sold the house and split the proceeds. Charlotte got most of the furniture, and I took my office equipment. I haven't spoken to Charlotte since we signed the divorce papers. Her lawyer handled all the communication during the process. I heard from mutual friends that Charlotte and Lori moved to a different town about an hour away from where we used to live. Lori is finishing high school there. Starting over in a new city has been harder than I expected. I don't know anyone here outside of work. My coworkers are friendly enough, but most of them are younger and single. I'm 39 years old and feel like I'm starting my life over from scratch. The marketing agency job is different from running my own business. I work on larger campaigns for bigger clients, but I don't have direct relationships with the business owners. Everything goes through account managers and project coordinators. The work is less personal but also less stressful. I still think about what happened sometimes, especially when I'm working on social media campaigns. I find myself double-checking everything multiple times before submitting it, even though I know there's no one here who would sabotage my work. The paranoia from what Lori did to me hasn't completely gone away. My new apartment is smaller than the house I shared with Charlotte and Lori, but it's easier to manage. I have my own home office again, but I keep the door locked even when I'm home alone. Old habits from dealing with Lori's sabotage are hard to break. I got a LinkedIn message last month from one of my former clients. He had heard that I moved away and wanted to know if I was available for freelance work. I was tempted to take the project, but I realized I wasn't ready to be responsible for someone else's business reputation again. I referred him to another marketing consultant instead. The restitution payments from Lori started arriving 2 months ago. $50 shows up in my bank account every month with a reference number from the court system. The money barely covers my monthly coffee budget, but seeing it reminds me that Lori is still dealing with consequences from what she did. I wonder sometimes if Lori learned anything from being arrested and going through the court system. Part of me hopes she understands now that actions have serious consequences. But based on how she acted during the legal process, I suspect she still sees herself as the victim in the situation. Charlotte sent me one text message on what would have been our 4th wedding anniversary. She said she hoped I was doing well and that she was sorry things ended the way they did. I didn't respond. There wasn't anything left to say that hadn't already been said during our divorce proceedings. Update 3: Lori contacted me last week through Facebook. Her message was long and seemed like something she had worked on for a while. She said she was sorry for what she did and that she understood now how much damage she had caused. She claimed her counselor helped her realize that her actions were wrong and that she wanted to make things right. The message also said she was planning to go to college next year and study computer science. She asked if I would be willing to write her a recommendation letter highlighting her technical skills. She promised she had learned from her mistakes and would never do anything like what she did to my business ever again. I stared at the message for about an hour before deleting it without responding. The idea that Lori thought I would help her get into college after she destroyed my career was so disconnected from reality that I couldn't even be angry about it. It just confirmed that she still doesn't understand what she did to me. I've been at my new job for 6 months now and got promoted to senior marketing coordinator last month. The work is steady, and my colleagues respect my experience. I'm earning about 75% of what I made at the peak of my consulting business, but I don't have the stress of constantly worrying about losing clients or managing cash flow. The city I moved to has a decent social scene for people my age. I joined a hiking club and started playing in a recreational basketball league. I'm not ready to date seriously yet, but I'm building a social life that doesn't revolve around work or family drama. My old house sold 6 months ago to a young couple with 2 small children. I drove by it once when I was back in my old town to handle some leftover legal paperwork. They had painted the front door a different color and put up a swing set in the backyard. It looked like a completely different place. I still get the monthly restitution payments from Lori. The court system is surprisingly reliable about processing them. Lori has about 14 months left on her probation, which means I'll get roughly $700 more before the payments stop. The total amount will be about $1,800 out of the $8,000 she was supposed to pay. I don't need Lori's $50 a month, but I never considered asking the court to stop the payments early. The money serves as a monthly reminder that there were real consequences for what she did, even if those consequences were minimal compared to the damage she caused. My divorce from Charlotte was finalized 8 months ago. I haven't heard from her since Lori's Facebook message, which makes me think Charlotte might have encouraged Lori to contact me. I can imagine Charlotte thinking that Lori's apology would somehow lead to reconciliation or forgiveness. I'm not angry anymore about what happened. The anger burned out somewhere between the divorce proceedings and settling into my new life. What's left is mostly indifference. Lori and Charlotte are part of my past now, not my present or future. Starting my own business again isn't completely off the table, but it would take years to build up the confidence and capital to try it. For now, I'm focused on doing good work for my current employer and building a stable life in my new city. Some dreams don't get second chances, and that's something you learn to accept. The house I rent now has a small spare bedroom that I use as a home office for personal projects. I keep the door locked out of habit, even though I live alone. Some behaviors stick with you long after the reasons for them are gone. But I'm working on trusting that the space I've created for myself is safe and that nobody here wants to destroy what I'm building.